How to turn pain into power. Transform struggles into strength and purpose. By T.M. Light. Description: transform your struggles into strength with this powerful motivational guide. It explores how pain can become a catalyst for growth, resilience, and purpose. Learn how to overcome emotional challenges, break limiting beliefs, and rebuild your identity with confidence. Discover practical insights on turning setbacks into opportunities and creating a life aligned with your true potential. Perfect for anyone seeking personal growth, healing, and self-improvement, this book will help you rise stronger, think differently, and unlock the power hidden within your pain. Chapter Outline. Introduction: the hidden power inside your pain. Chapter 1: Understanding pain, why we hurt and what it means. Chapter 2: the stories we tell ourselves. Chapter 3: facing the pain instead of escaping it. Chapter 4: breaking down before you break through. Chapter 5: rebuilding your identity. Chapter 6: turning pain into purpose. Chapter 7: building mental strength and resilience. Chapter 8: letting go of what no longer serves you. Chapter 9: creating a life that reflects your growth. Chapter 10: becoming unbreakable. Conclusion: your pain was never wasted. Introduction: the hidden power inside your pain. There is a moment in everyone's life when pain stops being something distant and becomes something deeply personal. It is no longer a story you hear about or something you observe in others. It becomes your reality. It may come quietly, through disappointment, rejection, or loss, or it may arrive suddenly, shaking everything you thought was certain. In that moment, it can feel like the world has turned against you, like life is unfair, and like you have been singled out to carry a weight that no one else truly understands. But what if that moment, as heavy as it feels, is not the end of your story? What if it is the beginning of something far more powerful than you can currently see? Pain has a way of convincing you that it is here to break you. It whispers that you are not strong enough, that you are not capable, and that you will never be the same again. And in one sense, that voice is telling the truth. You will never be the same again. But what it does not tell you is that you were never meant to be. You were meant to grow. You were meant to evolve. You were meant to become someone stronger, wiser, and more aware than the person you were before the struggle began. Pain is not just something to survive. It is something to understand. Every struggle you have faced carries a message. Every setback, every heartbreak, every failure has something to teach you, even if it does not feel that way in the moment. The problem is that when you are in the middle of pain, it is almost impossible to see anything beyond the hurt. Your mind becomes clouded, your emotions become overwhelming, and your focus narrows to one question: why is this happening to me? That question is natural, but it is also limiting. It keeps you trapped in the experience, rather than allowing you to rise above it. There is a more powerful question you can begin to ask, even when it feels difficult: what is this trying to teach me? That single shift changes everything. It moves you from being a victim of your circumstances to becoming a student of your experience. It gives your pain a purpose. And when pain has purpose, it no longer feels like something random or meaningless. When you begin to see your struggles through this lens, something inside you starts to change. You begin to realize that your pain is not here to destroy you, it is here to develop you. It is shaping your character, strengthening your resilience, and forcing you to grow in ways comfort never could. The strongest people you admire are not strong because life has been easy for them. They are strong because they have faced hardship, endured it, learned from it, and refused to let it define them in a negative way. You are no different. Right now, it may not feel like it. Right now, your pain may feel overwhelming, confusing, or even unfair. You may feel stuck, lost, or unsure of how to move forward. But that does not mean you are powerless. It simply means you are in the middle of your transformation. And transformation is never comfortable. Growth requires pressure. It requires stretching beyond what you know, letting go of what once felt safe, and stepping into uncertainty. Pain is often the force that pushes you into that process. It strips away illusions, exposes truths, and forces you to confront parts of yourself you may have ignored. It challenges your beliefs, your habits, and your identity. But within that challenge lies your greatest opportunity. Because when everything familiar falls apart, you are given a rare chance to rebuild yourself intentionally. Not as who you were, but as who you choose to become. This is where your power begins. You are not defined by what has happened to you. You are defined by how you respond to it. You can allow pain to make you bitter, closed off, and defeated. Or you can allow it to make you stronger, wiser, and more determined. The choice is not always easy, and it is not always immediate, but it is always available. And you do not have to make that choice perfectly. You just have to be willing to begin. There will be days when you feel strong, and there will be days when you feel like you are falling apart again. Both are part of the process. Healing is not linear, and growth is not instant. But every step you take toward understanding your pain, rather than running from it, brings you closer to becoming the person you are meant to be. It is also important for you to understand this: you are not alone. Even though pain can feel isolating, even though it can make you feel like no one else understands what you are going through, the truth is that struggle is a universal human experience. Every person you admire, every person you look up to, has faced moments of doubt, fear, and hardship. The difference is not that they avoided pain. The difference is that they learned how to use it. And that is exactly what this journey is about. This book is not here to tell you that pain is easy, or that you should be grateful for every struggle you face. It is here to show you that your pain has potential. It has meaning. It has power. And when you learn how to understand it, you can begin to transform it into something that fuels your growth rather than holds you back. You are not at the end of your story. You are in the middle of it. And what feels like a breaking point right now may one day become the foundation of your greatest strength. Chapter 1: Understanding Pain, Why We Hurt and What It Means. Pain is one of the few experiences that every human being shares, yet it remains one of the most misunderstood. From the moment we first encounter it, we are taught, directly or indirectly, that pain is something to avoid, suppress, or escape. We are conditioned to believe that a good life is one with as little pain as possible, and that when pain does show up, it is a sign that something has gone wrong. But what if that belief is incomplete? What if pain is not just something to run from, but something to listen to? To truly understand pain, you must first be willing to see it differently. Pain is not your enemy. It is your messenger. Think about physical pain for a moment. If you touch a hot surface, your body immediately reacts. The pain you feel is not there to harm you, it is there to protect you. It alerts you that something is wrong and demands your attention. Without that signal, you would continue to harm yourself without even realizing it. In this way, pain is not the problem. It is the warning system that keeps you alive. Emotional and mental pain work in a similar way, even though they are often harder to interpret. When you feel heartbreak, rejection, anxiety, or deep sadness, it is not random. It is not meaningless. It is your inner world trying to communicate something to you. It is pointing to something that matters, something that needs attention, something that is either missing, broken, or ready to grow. But here is where most people get stuck. Instead of listening to pain, they resist it. Instead of trying to understand it, they try to escape it. They distract themselves, numb themselves, or bury their feelings under layers of busyness, entertainment, or denial. And while these coping mechanisms may provide temporary relief, they do not solve the underlying issue. The pain does not disappear, it simply waits. It resurfaces in different forms, often stronger and more persistent, because the message has still not been received. Pain does not leave until it is understood. That is why the first step in transforming pain into power is learning how to face it with curiosity instead of fear. You have to be willing to ask yourself deeper questions. Not just, why am I hurting, but, what is this pain trying to show me? That question changes everything. It shifts your role from someone who is suffering passively to someone who is actively seeking meaning. It opens the door to awareness, and awareness is where transformation begins. When you begin to explore your pain, you will often discover that it is connected to unmet needs. Perhaps you needed love, validation, or support, and it was not there. Perhaps you needed safety, and it was taken away. Perhaps you needed to feel seen, heard, or valued, and instead you felt ignored or dismissed. These unmet needs leave emotional imprints, and those imprints become the source of your pain. This is not something to feel ashamed of. It is something to understand. Because once you recognize what you needed but did not receive, you gain the power to begin giving it to yourself. Pain can also point to unresolved experiences from your past. Moments that were too overwhelming at the time, moments you did not fully process, moments you tried to move on from without truly healing. These experiences do not simply disappear. They stay with you, influencing your thoughts, your reactions, and your beliefs about yourself and the world. You may find yourself reacting strongly to situations that seem small on the surface. You may feel triggered without fully understanding why. You may carry fears or insecurities that do not seem to match your current reality. Often, this is because your pain is not just about the present moment, it is connected to something deeper, something older, something that is still waiting to be acknowledged. And this is where many people become discouraged. They think that because their pain is deep, it means they are broken. But that is not true. It means they are human. And more importantly, it means they have an opportunity to heal at a deeper level. Pain is also a signal for growth. Sometimes it appears not because something is wrong, but because something is changing. You are outgrowing old habits, old environments, or even old versions of yourself. And growth, as powerful as it is, can be uncomfortable. It can feel like confusion, like uncertainty, like loss. You may feel lost not because you are failing, but because you are in transition. You may feel uncomfortable not because you are on the wrong path, but because you are stepping into something new. This is one of the most important realizations you can have. Not all pain is a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes it is a sign that something is right, but unfamiliar. When you begin to see pain through this lens, it loses some of its power to intimidate you. It no longer feels like an enemy that has come to destroy you. Instead, it becomes a guide, pointing you toward areas of your life that need attention, healing, or change. But this shift does not happen overnight. It requires patience. It requires honesty. And most importantly, it requires courage. Because facing your pain means facing yourself. It means being willing to look at your fears, your insecurities, your past, and your patterns without running away. It means accepting that some parts of your story may be painful, but they are still yours. And it means believing that you have the strength not just to survive your pain, but to grow from it. You are stronger than you think. Not because you have avoided pain, but because you have endured it. Every challenge you have faced, every moment you thought you would not make it through and yet somehow did, that is evidence of your resilience. You may not have recognized it at the time. You may have been too focused on getting through the moment to realize what you were becoming. But strength is built in those moments, quietly, steadily, shaping you into someone capable of more than you once believed. Understanding pain is not about eliminating it completely. That is not realistic, and it is not the goal. The goal is to change your relationship with it. To stop seeing it as something that controls you, and start seeing it as something you can learn from. When you do that, something powerful begins to happen. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That question does not remove the pain immediately, but it transforms the experience. It gives you a sense of direction. It allows you to find meaning even in difficult moments. And meaning is what turns suffering into growth. As you move forward, remember this: your pain is not pointless. It is not random. It is not proof that you are weak. It is proof that you are alive, that you care, that you are capable of feeling deeply. And within that depth lies your greatest strength. The same intensity that allows you to feel pain is the same intensity that will allow you to feel joy, purpose, and fulfillment at a higher level. You are not meant to stay in your pain. You are meant to rise through it. And the moment you begin to understand it, you take the first step toward transforming it into something powerful. Your journey does not begin when the pain ends. It begins when you decide to listen. Chapter 2: The Stories We Tell Ourselves. There is something more powerful than what happens to you, and it is often invisible. It does not arrive as an event, and it cannot be seen from the outside. It lives in your mind, shaping your perception, guiding your reactions, and quietly influencing the direction of your life. That force is the story you tell yourself. Every experience you go through, especially painful ones, does not exist in isolation. The moment something happens, your mind begins to interpret it. It asks questions, fills in gaps, and assigns meaning. That meaning becomes a story. And that story, repeated over time, becomes your belief. Pain on its own is an experience. Suffering is what happens when a painful experience is wrapped in a story that keeps you stuck. Two people can go through the same event and come out completely different. One may feel broken, defeated, and unworthy. The other may feel challenged, awakened, and determined to grow. The difference is not always the event itself. It is the meaning each person assigns to it. This is why understanding your internal dialogue is so important. Because the story you tell yourself about your pain can either trap you or transform you. When something difficult happens, your mind tries to make sense of it as quickly as possible. It looks for patterns, causes, and explanations. But the mind is not always objective. It is influenced by your past experiences, your fears, and your existing beliefs. If you have been hurt before, your mind may interpret a new challenge through that same lens, even if the situation is different. This is how limiting beliefs are formed. A single moment of rejection can turn into the belief, "I am not good enough." A failure can become, "I will never succeed." A betrayal can turn into, "People cannot be trusted." Over time, these beliefs become part of your identity. They shape how you see yourself, how you see others, and how you approach life. And without realizing it, you begin to live according to them. This is where pain becomes suffering. Because the event itself may pass, but the story remains. And the story continues to replay, reinforcing the same emotions, the same fears, and the same limitations. One of the most dangerous narratives people fall into is self-blame. When something goes wrong, the mind often turns inward and starts asking, "What is wrong with me?" Instead of seeing the situation as a complex interaction of circumstances, people simplify it into a personal failure. They internalize the pain and make it part of their identity. But there is a difference between taking responsibility and blaming yourself. Taking responsibility empowers you. It allows you to learn, grow, and make changes moving forward. Self-blame, on the other hand, keeps you stuck. It turns every mistake into proof that you are flawed, rather than an opportunity to improve. You must learn to separate who you are from what you experience. You are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not defined by your lowest moments. Another common pattern is the victim mentality. This does not mean that your pain is not real or that your struggles are not valid. They are. But victim mentality is not about the presence of pain. It is about the belief that you have no power in your own life. It sounds like, "This always happens to me." It feels like, "I have no control." It becomes, "There is nothing I can do." This mindset is dangerous not because it is dramatic, but because it is convincing. It feels true. And the more you repeat it, the more real it becomes. But here is the truth you must hold on to, even when it feels difficult. You may not control what happens to you, but you always have control over how you interpret it and how you respond to it. That is your power. And that power begins with awareness. You have to start noticing the stories you are telling yourself. Not judging them, not fighting them, but simply observing them. What do you say to yourself when things go wrong? What assumptions do you make? What conclusions do you jump to? Do you tell yourself that you are not enough? Do you believe that things will never change? Do you assume the worst about yourself or your future? These stories may feel automatic, but they are not permanent. They can be rewritten. Rewriting your story does not mean pretending that your pain did not happen. It does not mean ignoring reality or forcing yourself to be positive. It means choosing a more empowering interpretation of your experience. Instead of saying, "This happened because I am not good enough," you can begin to say, "This happened, and I am going to learn from it." Instead of thinking, "I always fail," you can shift to, "I am still learning and I have not succeeded yet." Instead of believing, "I cannot trust anyone," you can move toward, "I will be more aware and make better choices moving forward." These shifts may seem small, but they are powerful. Because your thoughts shape your emotions, and your emotions shape your actions. When you change your story, you change how you feel. When you change how you feel, you change how you act. And when you change how you act, you change your results. This is how transformation begins, not with a dramatic external change, but with a quiet internal shift. You begin to see yourself differently. You begin to speak to yourself differently. And slowly, you begin to live differently. It is also important to understand that rewriting your story is a process. You will not replace years of limiting beliefs overnight. There will be moments when the old narratives come back, when doubt creeps in, and when your mind tries to pull you back into familiar patterns. That is normal. Growth is not about never having negative thoughts. It is about not letting those thoughts control you. It is about recognizing them, questioning them, and choosing something better. You have to become the author of your own story, not the victim of it. Think about your life as a book that is still being written. The chapters that have already been written may include pain, mistakes, and struggles. But they do not determine how the story ends. You still have the power to write the next chapter. And the tone of that chapter depends on the story you choose to tell yourself today. Will you continue to tell a story of limitation, fear, and defeat? Or will you begin to tell a story of growth, resilience, and possibility? This is not about ignoring your past. It is about redefining its meaning. Your past does not have to be a prison. It can be a foundation. Every challenge you have faced has given you something, even if it does not feel that way yet. It has given you experience, awareness, and the opportunity to become stronger. But you will only see that if you are willing to change the story you attach to it. The moment you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "How can I grow from this?" you begin to take your power back. You move from being controlled by your experiences to being shaped by them in a positive way. You move from suffering to understanding, and from understanding to transformation. Your mind is always telling a story. Make sure it is one that empowers you, because the story you believe becomes the life you live. And when you choose to rewrite that story, you are not just changing your thoughts, you are changing your future. Chapter 3: Facing the pain instead of escaping it. There is a quiet habit that most people develop without even realizing it. It does not announce itself loudly, and it does not feel dangerous in the moment. In fact, it often feels like relief. It feels like comfort. It feels like survival. That habit is avoidance. When pain shows up, whether it is emotional, mental, or even deeply personal, your first instinct is rarely to sit with it. Your first instinct is to get away from it. You reach for distractions. You keep yourself busy. You scroll endlessly. You overwork. You numb yourself with entertainment, substances, or even other people. You tell yourself that if you can just stay occupied long enough, the feeling will fade. And sometimes, for a moment, it does. But what most people do not realize is that avoidance does not remove pain. It delays it. It buries it. It stores it beneath the surface where it continues to grow quietly, waiting for a moment when it can no longer be ignored. Pain that is not faced does not disappear. It transforms into something heavier. It becomes anxiety that you cannot explain. It becomes anger that feels out of place. It becomes emotional exhaustion that you cannot trace back to a single cause. It becomes patterns, repeated behaviors, repeated relationships, repeated disappointments that seem to follow you no matter where you go. And that is when you begin to feel stuck. Not because you are weak, but because you have been trying to outrun something that can only be healed by turning toward it. Facing your pain is not easy. It goes against everything your instincts are telling you. Your mind wants safety. Your body wants comfort. And pain feels like the opposite of both. It feels like something that might overwhelm you, something that might consume you if you allow yourself to fully experience it. But here is the truth that changes everything. Pain does not destroy you when you face it. It begins to lose its power over you. The fear of pain is often far greater than the pain itself. The anticipation, the resistance, the constant effort to avoid it, that is what drains you. When you finally stop running and allow yourself to feel what you have been avoiding, something unexpected happens. The intensity begins to shift. The weight begins to lift. Not all at once, but gradually, as you begin to understand it. This is where healing begins. Not in the escape, but in the confrontation. Facing your pain does not mean forcing yourself into suffering. It means allowing yourself to be honest. It means giving yourself permission to acknowledge what you feel without judgment, without shame, and without trying to immediately fix it. It means saying, "This hurts," and letting that be enough for a moment. So many people rush past their emotions because they believe they have to be strong. They believe that feeling deeply is a sign of weakness. They tell themselves to move on quickly, to stay positive, to not dwell on things. But true strength is not found in suppression. It is found in awareness. You cannot heal what you refuse to feel. You cannot understand what you refuse to face. And you cannot grow beyond something you are constantly running from. This is why reflection becomes so important. Taking time to sit with your thoughts, to explore your emotions, and to understand your experiences is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. It does not require anything complicated. It simply requires your presence. Journaling, for example, is not just about writing words on a page. It is about creating a space where your thoughts can exist without interruption. It allows you to take what is inside your mind, often chaotic, overwhelming and unclear, and give it structure. When you write, you begin to see patterns. You begin to understand your emotions more clearly. You begin to connect the dots between your experiences and your reactions. And in that process, something shifts. Your pain becomes less confusing. It becomes something you can observe, rather than something that completely controls you. Honest acknowledgement works in a similar way. When you stop pretending that everything is fine, when you stop minimizing your feelings, and when you allow yourself to admit the truth of what you are going through, you create space for healing. You stop carrying the additional burden of denial. You stop fighting against your own reality. And that is where peace begins, not in perfection but in honesty. There is also a deeper level to this process, one that requires courage. It is not just about acknowledging that you are in pain. It is about being willing to explore why. What exactly are you feeling? Where is it coming from? What does it remind you of? What does it reveal about your needs, your fears, or your beliefs? These questions are not always easy to answer. They may bring up memories, realizations, or truths that are uncomfortable. But discomfort is not something to fear. It is something to move through. Every time you sit with your discomfort instead of escaping it, you build emotional resilience. Resilience is not the absence of pain. It is the ability to face pain without being destroyed by it. It is the ability to stay present, to stay grounded, and to trust that you can handle what you are feeling, even if it is difficult. And resilience is not something you are born with. It is something you develop. You develop it every time you choose to face your emotions, instead of avoiding them. You develop it every time you stay with a difficult feeling, instead of distracting yourself from it. You develop it every time you remind yourself, I can handle this, even when it feels overwhelming. At first, this process may feel unfamiliar. You may feel restless when you try to sit with your emotions. You may feel the urge to escape, to check your phone, to turn on the television, to do anything that pulls you away from what you are feeling. That is normal. It is simply a habit that has been built over time. But like any habit, it can be changed. Start small. Give yourself a few moments each day to simply sit and observe your thoughts. No judgment, no pressure, no need to solve anything. Just awareness. Notice what comes up. Notice how your body feels. Notice where your mind goes. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. But over time, it will feel empowering. Because you will begin to realize that your emotions do not control you. You can experience them without being consumed by them. And that realization changes everything. It gives you space. It gives you clarity. It gives you the ability to respond to life instead of reacting to it. Facing your pain also allows you to break patterns that have been holding you back. When you avoid your emotions, you often repeat the same behaviors without understanding why. You may find yourself in similar situations, making similar choices, and feeling the same outcomes again and again. But when you face your pain, you begin to see those patterns clearly. You begin to understand the connection between your past experiences and your current actions. And once you understand it, you have the power to change it. This is how transformation happens. Not through sudden, dramatic shifts, but through consistent awareness and intentional action. It is important to remember that facing your pain does not mean doing it alone. Strength is not about isolation. It is about honesty. It is about being willing to seek support when you need it, to talk to someone you trust, to share what you are going through without fear of judgment. There is power in being seen. There is healing in being heard. And there is courage in allowing yourself to be vulnerable. You do not have to carry everything by yourself. But even when you have support, the internal work is yours to do. No one else can face your emotions for you. No one else can understand your pain in the exact way you experience it. That is your journey. And while it may feel difficult at times, it is also where your greatest strength will be built. Because every time you face your pain, you are proving something to yourself. You are proving that you are capable. You are proving that you are strong enough. You are proving that you do not have to run anymore. And slowly that proof becomes belief. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to feel more grounded. You begin to realize that pain is not something to fear, but something you can move through. And when you reach that point, something powerful happens. You stop seeing pain as an obstacle. And you start seeing it as a path. A path that leads you to deeper understanding, greater strength, and a version of yourself that is more resilient than you ever imagined. You are not meant to escape your pain. You are meant to face it. Because on the other side of that confrontation is the life you have been trying to reach all along. Chapter 4: Breaking Down Before You Break Through. There comes a moment in many people's lives when everything feels like it is falling apart. The plans you trusted no longer make sense. The identity you built begins to feel unfamiliar. The strength you thought you had seems to disappear under the weight of everything you are carrying. It can feel like you are losing control, like you are unraveling, like you are standing in the middle of a storm with no clear way out. This is what most people call a breakdown. And for a long time, society has taught us to fear it. We are told to stay strong, to hold it together, to not fall apart. We are encouraged to hide our struggles, to push through, to keep functioning no matter what is happening inside. A breakdown is seen as failure, as weakness, as something to avoid at all costs. But what if that understanding is incomplete? What if your breakdown is not the end of your strength, but the beginning of a deeper one? What if falling apart is not a sign that you are broken, but a sign that something within you is ready to change? The truth is that many of the most powerful transformations in life do not begin with clarity. They begin with confusion. They do not begin with confidence. They begin with collapse. They do not begin with control. They begin with surrender. Because sometimes, in order to build something stronger, what already exists has to break. A breakdown strips away illusions. It removes the layers you have been hiding behind, the expectations, the habits, the roles you have been playing. It exposes the truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable. It forces you to see things as they are, not as you wish they were. And that clarity, as painful as it may feel, is a gift. Before the breakdown, you may have been living on autopilot. You may have been following a path that no longer aligned with who you truly are. You may have been ignoring your needs, suppressing your emotions, or staying in situations that were slowly draining you. But when everything begins to fall apart, you can no longer ignore what is real. The discomfort becomes too loud. The truth becomes too clear. And in that moment, you are faced with a choice. You can try to rebuild the same life, the same patterns, the same version of yourself. Or you can take this as an opportunity to create something new. This is where the breakthrough begins. But before you can reach it, you have to allow yourself to fully experience the breakdown. And this is where many people struggle. They want the breakthrough without the process. They want the growth without the discomfort. They want the strength without the vulnerability. But transformation does not work that way. You cannot skip the breaking. You cannot rush the unraveling. You cannot build something stronger without first understanding what needed to fall apart. This is why emotional release is so important. When you go through a breakdown, your emotions are not random. They are signals. They are expressions of everything you have been holding in, your fears, your pain, your frustrations, your disappointments. They are not there to overwhelm you. They are there to move through you. But if you resist them, if you suppress them, if you tell yourself that you should not feel this way, you interrupt the process. You keep the emotions trapped inside, where they continue to affect you without being fully processed. Allowing yourself to feel deeply is not weakness. It is courage. It takes strength to sit with your emotions without trying to escape them. It takes honesty to admit when you are not okay. It takes vulnerability to let yourself experience the full range of what you are feeling. And yet, this is exactly what creates the space for healing. When you allow yourself to feel, you begin to release. When you release, you begin to lighten the weight you have been carrying. And when that weight begins to lift, you create room for something new to emerge. This is the hidden power of a breakdown. It clears space. It forces you to let go of what is no longer serving you, even if you were holding on to it tightly. It challenges your identity, your beliefs, and your direction. It pushes you out of your comfort zone and into a place where you have to redefine yourself. And while that process can feel disorienting, it is also where your greatest growth happens. Think about who you are in your most comfortable moments. When everything is going well, when life feels predictable, when there is no pressure to change, you tend to stay the same. There is no urgency to grow, no reason to question your path, no need to dig deeper into yourself. But when you hit rock bottom, everything changes. You begin to ask questions you have never asked before. You begin to reflect in ways you never have. You begin to see your life from a different perspective. Rock bottom is not where your story ends. It is where your awareness begins. It is where you are stripped of distractions and forced to confront what truly matters. It is where you realize that the life you were living is no longer sustainable. It is where you are given a blank space, a chance to rebuild not from habit but from intention. And that is where your power lies. Because when you rebuild from intention, you are no longer repeating old patterns. You are creating something new. But this process requires patience. You will not have all the answers immediately. You will not feel strong every day. There will be moments of doubt, moments of confusion, moments where you question whether you are moving forward at all. That is part of the journey. Breaking down is not a single moment. It is a process. And so is breaking through. You have to trust that even when things feel uncertain, something is shifting within you. You have to trust that the discomfort you are experiencing is not pointless. It is shaping you. It is preparing you. It is building a foundation for the version of yourself that is emerging. And that version of you is not weaker. It is stronger. Not because it has avoided pain, but because it has faced it. Not because it has stayed comfortable, but because it has grown through discomfort. Not because it has everything figured out, but because it has learned how to navigate uncertainty. This is what a breakthrough truly is. It is not a sudden moment where everything becomes perfect. It is a shift in perspective. It is a realization that you are no longer the same person you were before. It is the moment you recognize your own strength, your own resilience, your own ability to rise. And that moment does not come without the breakdown. It is born from it. So instead of fearing your breakdown, begin to see it differently. See it as a necessary step. See it as a process of release. See it as a moment where everything that is not aligned with your growth is being removed. You are not falling apart. You are shedding. You are not losing yourself. You are discovering who you truly are. And even though it may not feel like it right now, even though the process may feel messy and uncertain, you are moving forward. Every emotion you feel, every realization you have, every moment of honesty you allow yourself to experience, it is all part of your transformation. You are breaking down so that you can break through. And when you do, you will not just return to who you were before. You will rise as someone stronger, clearer, and more aligned with your true self. Your breakdown is not your weakness. It is the beginning of your power. Chapter 5: Rebuilding Your Identity. After the storm comes a silence that can feel unfamiliar. It is not the silence of peace just yet, but the silence of everything that has been stripped away. The noise of old expectations fades. The pressure to maintain an image begins to dissolve. The version of yourself that once felt so certain now feels distant, almost like a memory you are no longer sure belongs to you. This is where many people feel lost. After a breakdown, there is often a question that quietly emerges: who am I now? It is a powerful question, but it can also be unsettling. Because when parts of your life fall apart, relationships, goals, beliefs, or even your sense of direction, you are left standing in a space that feels empty. The identity you once held on to may no longer fit. The roles you once played may no longer make sense. And in that emptiness, you may feel like you have lost yourself. But what if you have not lost yourself at all? What if you are simply being given the chance to rebuild yourself? This is one of the most important shifts you will ever make. Instead of trying to return to who you were before the pain, you begin to ask a new question: who do I want to become because of this? That question changes everything. Because going back is not growth. Transformation requires moving forward. The person you were before your struggles is not the person you are meant to remain. That version of you did not yet have the awareness, the experience, or the strength that your challenges have given you. Trying to go back to that version is like trying to fit into something you have already outgrown. You are not meant to go back. You are meant to rebuild. Rebuilding your identity is not about creating a completely new person out of nothing. It is about uncovering who you truly are, beneath the layers of fear, doubt, and conditioning that may have shaped your old identity. It is about aligning your life with your values, your truth, and your growth. But before you can rebuild, you must let go. You must be willing to release the labels you have been carrying. Labels can feel comforting because they give you a sense of certainty. They tell you who you are and how you are supposed to behave. But many of these labels are not chosen consciously. They are formed through experiences, through what others have said about you, and through the stories you have told yourself. You may have labeled yourself as not good enough, not strong, not capable, or not worthy. You may have identified with your pain, seeing yourself as someone who is broken, someone who has failed, or someone who is always struggling. These labels are not your identity. They are interpretations. And interpretations can be changed. Letting go of these labels is not always easy. They may have been with you for years. They may feel familiar, even if they are limiting. But holding on to them will keep you tied to the version of yourself that existed before your growth began. To rebuild, you must be willing to question those labels. Ask yourself, is this really who I am, or is this just something I have believed for a long time? You may begin to realize that many of the things you thought defined you are not permanent truths. They are simply thoughts that have been repeated often enough to feel real. And once you see that, you gain the power to choose differently. Rebuilding your identity is a conscious process. It is not something that happens automatically. It requires intention. It requires reflection. And most importantly, it requires belief. You have to believe that you are not limited to who you have been. You have to believe that you can become more. And you have to be willing to take responsibility for that transformation. This is where you begin to define your new identity. Not based on your past, but based on your potential. Instead of asking, "Who was I before this happened?" you begin to ask, "Who do I want to be moving forward?" Do you want to be someone who is resilient? Someone who is confident? Someone who is emotionally strong and self-aware? Someone who does not run from challenges but grows through them? These are not just ideas. They are choices. And every choice you make moving forward begins to shape that identity. Your identity is not something fixed. It is something you build through your actions, your thoughts, and your habits. Every time you choose courage over fear, you are building a courageous identity. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you are building a growth-oriented identity. Every time you choose to believe in yourself, even when it feels difficult, you are reinforcing a new version of who you are. This is how transformation becomes real. Not through one big moment, but through consistent choices. There will be times when the old version of you tries to come back. Old thoughts, old habits, and old fears may resurface. You may hear that familiar voice telling you that you cannot change, that you will always be the same, that this is who you are. But you must remember this. That voice is not your truth. It is your past. And your past does not get to decide your future unless you allow it to. You are not obligated to remain the person you were yesterday. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to become someone new. And that process begins with the decisions you make today. Rebuilding your identity also requires patience. You will not wake up one day and suddenly feel like a completely different person. Growth is gradual. It happens in small moments, in subtle shifts, in quiet realizations. You may not notice it immediately, but over time you will begin to see the difference. You will respond to situations differently. You will think differently. You will carry yourself differently. And one day you will look back and realize that you are no longer the same person you once were. That is the power of intentional growth. It is also important to understand that your identity is not defined by perfection. You do not have to get everything right. You do not have to have all the answers. You do not have to feel confident all the time. You are allowed to be a work in progress. What matters is not that you are perfect, but that you are moving forward. What matters is that you are choosing growth, even when it feels uncomfortable. What matters is that you are becoming more aware, more intentional, and more aligned with who you want to be. As you rebuild your identity, you may also find that your priorities begin to shift. Things that once felt important may no longer hold the same value. Relationships may change. Goals may evolve. Your perspective on life may deepen. This is not something to fear. It is a sign that you are growing. You are no longer living based on old patterns or external expectations. You are beginning to live based on your own truth. And that is where real fulfillment comes from. Not from trying to be who you think you should be, but from becoming who you truly are. Your pain did not come to define you. It came to refine you. It came to strip away what was not aligned, to challenge your beliefs and to push you towards something greater. Now, you have the opportunity to take everything you have learned and use it to build a stronger, more authentic version of yourself. You are not starting over. You are starting from experience. You are starting from awareness. You are starting from strength. And that makes all the difference. So ask yourself, not with fear but with intention, who do I want to become because of this? Let that question guide you. Let it shape your choices. Let it remind you that your identity is not something you have to find. It is something you have the power to create. And as you begin to rebuild, you will realize that you were never lost. You were simply becoming. Chapter 6: Turning Pain into Purpose. There comes a moment in your journey when something begins to shift. The pain that once felt overwhelming, confusing, and heavy no longer feels exactly the same. It is still there, but it has changed shape. It is no longer just something you are trying to survive. It begins to feel like something you are starting to understand. And within that understanding, something powerful starts to emerge. Purpose. At first, it may not be obvious. It may not arrive as a clear vision or a sudden realization. It often begins quietly, as a subtle feeling that your experiences, as difficult as they have been, are not meaningless. That there is something within them, something valuable, something important, that can be used for something greater than the pain itself. This is the turning point. This is where pain begins to transform into power. For so long, your focus may have been on getting through the struggle, surviving it, escaping it, trying to move past it as quickly as possible. But now a new question begins to take shape. What can I do with this? That question is the beginning of purpose. Because purpose is not always something you find outside of yourself. It is often something that grows from within you, shaped by what you have been through. It is born from your struggles, your lessons, your resilience, and your willingness to turn something difficult into something meaningful. Many of the most impactful people in the world did not find their purpose in comfort. They found it in challenge. They found it in moments that forced them to grow, to adapt, and to see life from a deeper perspective. Your pain has given you something. Even if it does not feel like it yet, even if it still feels raw or unresolved, it has shaped you. It has taught you lessons about yourself, about others, and about life. It has given you a level of awareness that you did not have before. And within that awareness lies your potential. Because when you have experienced pain, you develop something that cannot be taught in a classroom or learned from a book. You develop understanding. You begin to see people differently. You begin to recognize struggles that others may not notice. You begin to feel empathy in a deeper, more genuine way. And that empathy is powerful. It allows you to connect with others on a level that goes beyond surface conversations. It allows you to support, to guide, and to uplift people who may be going through something similar. It allows you to turn your experiences into something that not only helps you, but helps others as well. This is one of the most beautiful transformations that can come from pain. What once hurt you becomes something that allows you to heal others. But purpose does not always look the same for everyone. For some, it may mean helping others directly, sharing your story, offering support, or creating something that inspires people who are going through similar challenges. Your voice, your experience, your perspective, these can become tools for change. For others, purpose may show up in a different way. It may lead you to pursue a new path, a new career, or a new direction that aligns more closely with who you have become. The struggles you have faced may have revealed what truly matters to you, what you care about, and what you want to contribute to the world. And sometimes purpose is more internal. It is about becoming a stronger, more grounded, and more self-aware version of yourself. It is about living your life with intention, using your experiences to guide your decisions, and creating a life that reflects your growth. No matter how it shows up, purpose is not something you are forced into. It is something you grow into. And it often begins with a simple realization. Your pain is not wasted. It may have felt unfair. It may have felt overwhelming. It may have felt like something you would never fully understand. But it has not been pointless. It has been preparing you. Preparing you to see life differently. Preparing you to grow in ways you never expected. Preparing you to step into something greater than where you started. This does not mean that you have to be grateful for every painful experience. It does not mean that what you went through was easy, or that it should have happened. But it does mean that you have the ability to decide what that experience becomes in your life. You can let it remain as something that holds you back. Or you can turn it into something that moves you forward. This is your choice. And it is one of the most empowering choices you will ever make. Turning pain into purpose is not about ignoring the difficulty of what you have been through. It is about acknowledging it, learning from it, and then choosing to use it in a way that adds value to your life and, potentially, to the lives of others. It is about taking your struggles and asking, how can this make me better? How can this make me stronger? How can this help me grow into the person I am meant to become? These questions shift your focus from the past to the future. They move you from reflection to action. And that is where real transformation happens. Because purpose is not just about understanding. It is about doing. It is about taking what you have learned and applying it in a way that creates meaning. It is about making choices that align with your growth. It is about living in a way that reflects the strength you have developed. And this does not require perfection. You do not have to have everything figured out. You do not have to know exactly what your purpose looks like in its final form. You just have to be willing to take the next step. To follow what feels meaningful. To trust that your experiences are guiding you in the right direction. There will be moments when you doubt yourself. Moments when you question whether your struggles can really lead to something positive. Moments when it feels easier to go back to old patterns or to stay in your comfort zone. But this is where your growth is tested. This is where you remind yourself that you are no longer the person you were before. You have changed. You have learned. You have grown. And because of that, you are capable of more. Your pain has given you strength. Your struggles have given you insight. Your journey has given you perspective. And all of these things can be used to create something meaningful. Something that reflects not just where you have been, but where you are going. Purpose is not about being perfect. It is about being intentional. It is about choosing to live in a way that honors your growth. It is about turning your experiences into something that adds value to your life, and if you choose, to the lives of others. And when you begin to do that, something incredible happens. Your pain no longer feels like a burden. It begins to feel like a source of strength. It becomes something that fuels you, that drives you, that reminds you of how far you have come. You begin to see your story differently. Not as something that broke you, but as something that shaped you. Not as something that limited you, but as something that prepared you. And in that shift, you step into a new level of power. You are no longer defined by your pain. You are empowered by it. You are no longer trying to escape your past. You are using it as a foundation for your future. This is what it means to turn pain into purpose. It is not about changing what happened. It is about changing what it means. And when you change the meaning, you change your life. Your story is still being written. And the pain you have experienced is not the end of that story. It is the beginning of something greater. Something stronger. Something more meaningful than you ever imagined. Because within your pain lies your purpose. And within your purpose lies your power. Chapter 7: Building Mental Strength and Resilience. There is a quiet truth that separates those who rise from adversity and those who remain stuck in it. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is not even circumstance. It is resilience. Resilience is the ability to keep going when things get hard. It is the strength to stand back up when life knocks you down. It is the inner stability that allows you to face challenges without losing yourself in the process. And perhaps the most important thing you need to understand is this: resilience is not something you are born with. It is something you build. No one enters this world already mentally unbreakable. Strength is developed over time, shaped through experience, reinforced through choices, and strengthened through struggle. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to build that strength, even if it does not feel that way in the moment. When life is easy, resilience is not required. But when life becomes difficult, when things do not go according to plan, when you are tested in ways you did not expect, that is when your mental strength begins to take shape. And that is where your power lies. Building mental strength begins with understanding how your mind works. Your thoughts are not just passing ideas. They influence your emotions, your decisions, and your actions. When something goes wrong, your mind reacts immediately. It creates a narrative, often based on fear or past experiences. That narrative can either weaken you or strengthen you. If your first thought is, "I can't handle this," your body responds with stress, anxiety, and hesitation. But if your thought is, "This is difficult, but I will find a way," your body responds differently. You feel more focused, more determined, and more in control. This is why mindset is so important. Mental strength is not about ignoring difficulty. It is about how you interpret it. When you begin to shift your mindset, you change how you experience challenges. Instead of seeing them as threats, you begin to see them as opportunities to grow. Instead of feeling defeated by setbacks, you begin to view them as part of the process. This does not mean that challenges become easy. It means that you become stronger in how you respond to them. And that response is something you can train. Just like your body becomes stronger through physical exercise, your mind becomes stronger through mental discipline. Every time you choose a constructive thought over a destructive one, you are strengthening your resilience. Every time you face a challenge instead of avoiding it, you are building endurance. Every time you stay grounded in the face of difficulty, you are reinforcing your inner stability. These small moments matter more than you realize. Resilience is not built in one big moment of strength. It is built in the everyday decisions you make. It is built when you choose to keep going, even when you feel like giving up. It is built when you choose to stay focused, even when distractions are easier. It is built when you choose to believe in yourself, even when doubt is loud. One of the most important aspects of mental strength is emotional discipline. This does not mean suppressing your emotions or pretending they do not exist. It means learning how to manage them without letting them control you. You will feel frustration. You will feel disappointment. You will feel fear. These emotions are part of being human. But resilience is about how you respond to them. Do you allow frustration to turn into anger that disrupts your decisions? Do you allow disappointment to turn into self-doubt that stops you from trying again? Do you allow fear to turn into avoidance that keeps you stuck? Or do you acknowledge these emotions, understand them, and then choose how you act? This is where emotional discipline becomes powerful. It gives you the ability to pause, to take a step back, to respond intentionally instead of reacting impulsively. And that pause can change everything. Because in that moment, you are no longer controlled by your emotions. You are in control of your response. Another key part of resilience is learning how to handle setbacks. Setbacks are not failures. They are part of the journey. Every person who has achieved something meaningful has faced obstacles. They have experienced moments where things did not go as planned, where progress felt slow, and where the outcome was uncertain. The difference is not that they avoided setbacks. The difference is that they did not stop because of them. When you experience a setback, it is easy to feel discouraged. It is easy to question yourself, to doubt your abilities, and to wonder if you are on the right path. But setbacks are not signs that you should quit. They are signals that you need to adjust. They are opportunities to learn, to improve, and to grow. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" begin to ask, "What can I learn from this?" That question turns a setback into a stepping stone. It shifts your focus from the problem to the solution. And it keeps you moving forward. Endurance is another essential part of resilience. Strength is not just about how you handle one difficult moment. It is about how you sustain your effort over time. There will be times when progress feels slow. Times when results are not immediate. Times when you feel like you are putting in effort without seeing the outcome you hoped for. This is where endurance is tested. Can you keep going even when it feels like nothing is changing? Can you stay committed even when motivation fades? Can you trust the process even when the results are not yet visible? Endurance is built through consistency. It is built by showing up day after day even when it is difficult. It is built by focusing on what you can control rather than what you cannot. And over time, that consistency creates results. Not always immediately, but inevitably. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is self-awareness. When you understand your thoughts, your emotions, and your patterns, you gain the ability to influence them. You begin to notice when your mind is shifting into negativity. You begin to recognize when your emotions are starting to take over. And in that awareness, you gain a choice. You can choose to continue down the same path. Or you can choose to redirect yourself. This is what mental strength looks like in practice. It is not about never struggling. It is about not staying stuck in the struggle. It is about having the ability to move through difficulty with intention and awareness. It is also important to remember that resilience does not mean doing everything alone. Strength is not isolation. It is not about proving that you do not need anyone. It is about knowing when to stand on your own and when to seek support. There is strength in asking for help. There is strength in sharing your challenges. There is strength in allowing others to support you. Because resilience is not just about individual strength. It is also about connection. As you continue to build your mental strength, you will begin to notice a shift. Challenges that once felt overwhelming will feel more manageable. Situations that once triggered strong reactions will feel less intense. You will feel more grounded, more stable, and more confident in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. This is the result of consistent effort. This is the result of choosing growth over comfort. This is the result of training your mind to become stronger. You are not defined by the challenges you face. You are defined by how you respond to them. And every time you choose to respond with strength, with awareness, and with intention, you are building resilience. You are becoming someone who is not easily shaken. Someone who does not give up easily. Someone who can face life with confidence, even when it is uncertain. This is not something that happens overnight. It is something you build step by step. And with each step, you become stronger. With each challenge, you become more resilient. With each moment of discipline, you become more in control. You are training your mind. You are building your strength. And you are becoming the kind of person who can handle whatever life brings. That is what resilience is. And that is the power you are developing within yourself. Chapter 8: Letting Go of What No Longer Serves You. There is a moment in every transformation where growth demands something difficult. It does not ask for more effort, more strength, or more endurance. It asks for release. Letting go. It sounds simple when spoken, but in reality, it is one of the hardest things you will ever do. Because letting go is not just about losing something, it is about choosing to release what has become familiar, even when it is no longer good for you. It is about walking away from what you have held onto for so long, even when a part of you still wants to keep it. But here is the truth you must understand. You cannot grow into something new while holding on to everything from your past. Transformation requires space. And that space is created when you let go of what no longer serves you. There are many things we hold on to without even realizing it. Old relationships that drain us more than they support us. Identities that no longer reflect who we are. Regrets that replay in our minds. Pain that we carry as if it is part of who we are. At some point you have to ask yourself a powerful question: is this helping me grow, or is it keeping me stuck? Because holding on can feel like control, but often it is just attachment. And attachment can quietly limit your growth. Letting go does not mean that what you experienced was not real. It does not mean that it did not matter. It does not mean that you are forgetting or ignoring what happened. It means you are choosing not to carry it in a way that continues to hurt you. There is a difference between remembering and holding on. You can remember your experiences, learn from them, and still release the emotional weight they carry. But holding on keeps you tied to the past. It keeps you reliving moments that are no longer happening. It keeps you emotionally connected to things that are no longer aligned with your future. And over time that weight becomes heavy. It slows you down. It clouds your mind. It affects your decisions. And most importantly, it limits your ability to move forward. One of the most difficult things to let go of is toxic relationships. These are connections that may have once meant something to you, but now bring more pain than peace. They may involve people who do not respect you, who drain your energy, or who keep you stuck in old patterns. Letting go of these relationships can feel incredibly hard, because they are tied to memories, emotions, and sometimes even your sense of identity. You may think, what if I lose them completely? You may feel guilt, fear, or uncertainty. But you have to ask yourself something deeper. What am I losing by staying? Your peace. Your growth. Your sense of self. Sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that protect your future. Letting go of a toxic relationship is not an act of rejection. It is an act of self-respect. It is choosing yourself. It is choosing growth over comfort. And it is trusting that you deserve relationships that support, uplift, and align with who you are becoming. Letting go also applies to the identities you have carried for years. You may have seen yourself in a certain way for so long that it feels like part of who you are. But sometimes, those identities were shaped by your past experiences, by what others told you, or by the stories you created during difficult moments. You may have identified as the one who always struggles, the one who is not enough, or the one who cannot succeed. But those identities are not permanent. They are not who you are. They are who you believed yourself to be. And as you grow, those beliefs must be questioned. Because you cannot step into a new version of yourself while holding on to an old definition of who you are. Letting go of your past identity can feel like losing a part of yourself. But in reality, it is creating space for your true self to emerge. You are not losing yourself. You are discovering yourself. Regret is another weight that many people carry. It is the constant replaying of what could have been done differently. The thoughts of, "I should have known better," "I should have acted differently," or "if only I had made a different choice." Regret can keep you stuck in a loop, focusing on the past instead of allowing you to move forward. But here is something you must remember. You made the best decision you could, with the awareness you had at that time. You did not know then what you know now. And holding yourself to a standard of hindsight is not fair. Regret does not change the past. But learning from it can shape your future. Letting go of regret means accepting that you cannot go back. It means choosing to take the lesson, instead of carrying the guilt. It means understanding that your mistakes are not something to be ashamed of, but something to learn from. And perhaps one of the most powerful forms of letting go is forgiveness. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. Many people believe that forgiving someone means excusing what they did, or saying that it was okay. But forgiveness is not about them. It is about you. It is about releasing the emotional hold that their actions have on you. When you hold on to anger, resentment, or bitterness, you are not hurting the other person. You are carrying that weight within yourself. You are reliving the pain over and over again. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean allowing the same behavior again. It simply means you are choosing peace over pain. You are choosing to no longer let that experience control your emotions. And forgiveness is not only for others. It is also for yourself. You may be holding on to guilt, shame, or self-judgment for things you have done in the past. You may be criticizing yourself, blaming yourself, or feeling like you are not worthy of moving forward. But holding on to that does not help you grow. It keeps you stuck. You deserve the same compassion you would give to someone else. You deserve the chance to learn, to grow, and to move forward without carrying the weight of your past mistakes. Forgiving yourself is one of the most freeing things you can do. It allows you to release the pressure of perfection. It allows you to accept your humanity. And it allows you to move forward with a lighter heart. Letting go is not a one-time event. It is a process. There will be moments when you feel like you have moved on, and then something reminds you of the past. Old emotions may resurface. Old thoughts may come back. That is normal. Letting go is not about never thinking about something again. It is about not allowing it to control you. It is about choosing, again and again, to release what no longer serves you. And each time you make that choice, it becomes easier. Each time you let go, you create more space. Space for growth. Space for clarity. Space for new opportunities. Space for a new version of yourself. And that space is where transformation happens. You are not meant to carry everything. You are not meant to hold on to every experience, every emotion, and every connection forever. Some things are meant to be part of your journey, not your destination. And learning to let go is what allows you to keep moving forward. You are not losing anything by letting go. You are gaining freedom. You are gaining clarity. You are gaining the ability to step into the life that is waiting for you. So ask yourself honestly, what am I holding on to that is no longer helping me grow? And then, with courage and intention, begin to release it. Because the life you are trying to build requires space. And that space begins with letting go. Chapter 9: Creating a Life That Reflects Your Growth. There comes a point in your journey where change is no longer just something you feel inside, it becomes something you must live. You have done the hard work of facing your pain, understanding your patterns, rebuilding your identity, and letting go of what no longer serves you. You have grown. You have evolved. You have become more aware of who you are and what you want. But now a new challenge begins. You must create a life that reflects that growth. Because growth that stays internal, without being expressed externally, eventually creates tension. You begin to feel misaligned. You begin to notice that the life you are living no longer matches the person you are becoming. Old environments, old habits, and even old relationships may start to feel uncomfortable, not because something is wrong, but because you have changed. And this is where many people hesitate. They grow internally, but they do not adjust their external lives. They hold on to familiar patterns, even when those patterns no longer serve them. They stay in situations that feel safe, even when those situations limit their growth. They delay action because change feels uncertain. But here is the truth. Growth requires alignment. If you want your life to change, your actions must reflect who you are becoming, not who you used to be. This is where intention becomes essential. You can no longer live on autopilot. You can no longer make decisions based solely on comfort or habit. You must begin to ask yourself, does this align with the person I am becoming? That question becomes your guide. Every choice you make, how you spend your time, who you surround yourself with, what you prioritize, either supports your growth or holds you back. And while this may sound overwhelming, it is also empowering. Because it means your future is not something that happens to you. It is something you create. One of the most important aspects of creating a life that reflects your growth is setting boundaries. Boundaries are not about shutting people out or being distant. They are about protecting your energy, your time, and your emotional well-being. They are about defining what you are willing to accept and what you are not. When you begin to grow, you may realize that certain situations, behaviors, or relationships no longer align with your values. You may notice that some people drain your energy, that certain environments trigger old patterns, or that some habits keep you stuck. And this is where boundaries become necessary. Without boundaries, your growth becomes fragile. You may find yourself pulled back into old ways of thinking, reacting, and living. But with boundaries, you create a structure that supports your transformation. Setting boundaries is not always easy. It may require difficult conversations. It may require disappointing others. It may require stepping away from what feels familiar. But boundaries are not about rejection. They are about self-respect. They are about choosing your growth, even when it feels uncomfortable. And over time, those boundaries become a reflection of your strength. They show that you value yourself enough to protect your peace. They show that you are committed to becoming the person you have worked so hard to become. Another key part of alignment is making intentional choices. In the past, you may have made decisions based on fear, insecurity, or the need for approval. You may have chosen paths that felt safe rather than meaningful. You may have followed expectations instead of listening to your own voice. But now, you have a different level of awareness. You know what matters to you. You understand what aligns with your growth. And that awareness gives you the power to choose differently. Intentional living means being mindful of your decisions. It means asking yourself not just what is easy, but what is right. It means choosing actions that move you closer to your goals, even when they require effort. It means being honest with yourself about what you truly want, rather than settling for what is convenient. Every decision you make is a step in shaping your future. And when those decisions are aligned with your growth, they begin to create a life that feels authentic, fulfilling, and meaningful. This is where action becomes important. Growth is not just about understanding. It is about doing. You can have all the awareness in the world, but if your actions do not reflect that awareness, nothing changes. You must be willing to take steps, even when they feel uncertain. You must be willing to move forward, even when you do not have all the answers. You must be willing to trust yourself. Action does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be immediate or dramatic. It simply has to be consistent. Small steps taken regularly create momentum. And momentum creates change. You may not see the results right away. You may not feel completely confident in the beginning. But every step you take builds on the last. Every action reinforces your new identity. Every choice strengthens your alignment. And over time, those small steps lead to significant transformation. Designing a life that reflects your growth also means shifting your focus from fear to strength. Fear often comes from the unknown. It tells you that change is risky, that you might fail, that you might lose something. It keeps you within your comfort zone, even when that comfort zone is limiting. But strength comes from trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in your ability to handle challenges. Trust in your capacity to adapt and grow. When you begin to make decisions from a place of strength, everything changes. You are no longer asking, "What if this goes wrong?" You are asking, "What if this leads me to something better?" You are no longer avoiding risk. You are embracing opportunity. This does not mean you will not feel fear. Fear is a natural part of growth. But you do not let it control your decisions. You acknowledge it, and then you move forward anyway. This is what it means to live with courage. And courage is what allows you to create a life that truly reflects who you are becoming. As you continue this process, you may notice that your life begins to feel different. More aligned. More intentional. More authentic. You may feel a deeper sense of clarity about your direction. You may feel more confident in your decisions. You may feel more at peace with yourself. This is the result of living in alignment with your growth. It is not about perfection. It is about consistency. It is about showing up for yourself, again and again, in ways that reflect your values, your strength, and your vision. And perhaps most importantly, it is about remembering that this is an ongoing process. You will continue to grow. You will continue to evolve. And as you do, your life will continue to change. New challenges will arise. New opportunities will appear. And you will be called to adjust, to adapt, and to realign. But now you have the tools. You have the awareness. You have the strength. You know how to face your pain, how to learn from it, and how to use it to grow. And because of that, you are capable of creating a life that is not just successful but meaningful. A life that reflects not just where you have been, but where you are going. A life that is built on intention, strength, and authenticity. You are no longer living by default. You are living by design. And that is one of the most powerful things you can ever do. Your growth is real. Now it is time for your life to reflect it. Chapter 10: Becoming Unbreakable. There is a version of strength that most people imagine when they hear the word unbreakable. They picture someone who never struggles, someone who never feels pain, someone who stands firm no matter what happens, untouched by hardship and unaffected by life's challenges. But that version of strength is not real. No one is immune to pain. No one moves through life without being tested. No one escapes moments of doubt, fear, or loss. To be human is to feel, and to feel is to experience both joy and pain. So what does it really mean to become unbreakable? It means something far more powerful. It means becoming someone who can face pain without being destroyed by it. Someone who can fall and still find a way to rise. Someone who can be challenged and still choose to grow. Becoming unbreakable is not about avoiding life's difficulties. It is about developing the strength to move through them. By now, you have come to understand that pain is not your enemy. You have learned that it carries meaning, that it offers lessons, and that it can be transformed into something powerful. You have faced it, understood it, and used it to grow. You have let go of what no longer serves you, rebuilt your identity, and begun to create a life that aligns with who you are becoming. And through all of that, something has been forming within you. Strength. Not the kind that hides emotion, but the kind that understands it. Not the kind that avoids struggle, but the kind that learns from it. Not the kind that depends on everything going right, but the kind that remains steady even when things go wrong. This is what it means to be unbreakable. It is not about being untouched. It is about being resilient. Life will continue to test you. There will be new challenges, new uncertainties, and new moments where you feel pushed beyond your comfort zone. There will be times when things do not go as planned, when you feel overwhelmed, or when you question your path. That is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are living. The difference now is how you respond. Before, pain may have felt like something that controlled you. Now, it is something you understand. Before, setbacks may have felt like endings. Now you see them as part of the process. Before, challenges may have made you doubt yourself. Now they remind you of your strength. This shift is what makes you unbreakable. You no longer expect life to be easy. You expect yourself to be strong. And that strength is built on trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in your ability to handle what comes your way. Trust in the fact that no matter what happens, you will find a way forward. Self-trust is one of the most powerful things you can develop. When you trust yourself, you no longer fear uncertainty in the same way. You know that even if things do not go according to plan, you have the ability to adapt. You have the resilience to recover. You have the awareness to learn and grow. This does not mean you will always feel confident. There will still be moments of doubt. But those moments will not define you. Because you have built something deeper than confidence. You have built belief. Belief in your strength. Belief in your growth. Belief in your ability to rise, no matter how many times you fall. Becoming unbreakable also means embracing challenges as part of your evolution. Instead of resisting difficulty, you begin to accept it as a natural part of growth. You understand that every challenge carries an opportunity, even if it is not immediately clear. You begin to approach life with a different mindset. Not, "Why is this happening to me?" but "What can I learn from this?" That question keeps you moving forward. It keeps you open. It keeps you growing. And growth is what keeps you strong. You begin to see that every experience, whether positive or negative, contributes to who you are becoming. Every challenge adds to your resilience. Every lesson adds to your understanding. Every moment of perseverance adds to your strength. Nothing is wasted. Everything becomes part of your foundation. And as that foundation grows, so does your ability to handle what comes next. There is also a quiet confidence that develops when you become unbreakable. It is not loud or boastful. It is steady. It is grounded. It is the kind of confidence that comes from experience, from knowing what you have been through, and recognizing what you are capable of. You no longer need external validation in the same way. You no longer rely on everything being perfect to feel secure. Because your strength comes from within. It comes from the work you have done, the challenges you have faced, and the growth you have achieved. And that kind of strength cannot be taken away. As you move forward, it is important to remember that becoming unbreakable does not mean you will never struggle again. You will still have difficult days. You will still face moments of uncertainty. You will still feel emotions deeply. But those moments will not break you. They will shape you. They will refine you. They will continue to build the strength that you have been developing. You are not aiming for a life without challenges. You are building the ability to handle them. And that is what makes you truly powerful. There is a difference between avoiding life and mastering it. Avoiding life means staying within your comfort zone, trying to minimize risk, and protecting yourself from anything that feels uncertain. Mastering life means stepping into challenges, embracing growth, and trusting that you can handle whatever comes your way. You are no longer trying to avoid difficulty. You are ready to face it. Because you know that within every challenge lies an opportunity to become stronger. And that strength compounds over time. Each experience builds on the last. Each challenge adds to your resilience. Each moment of growth reinforces your identity. Until one day you look back and realize how far you have come. You realize that the things that once felt overwhelming no longer have the same impact. You realize that you are more grounded, more aware, and more capable than you ever thought possible. You realize that you are no longer the person who once feared breaking. You have become someone who knows how to rebuild. And that is what makes you unbreakable. It is not that you will never fall. It is that you will always rise. It is not that you will never feel pain. It is that you will never let it define you. It is not that life will become easy. It is that you have become strong. Your journey does not end here. Growth is ongoing. There will always be new levels to reach, new lessons to learn, and new versions of yourself to discover. But now, you move forward with a different mindset. You move forward with strength. You move forward with resilience. You move forward with trust. And no matter what lies ahead, you know this. You can handle it. You can grow through it. You can rise from it. You are not fragile. You are not weak. You are not defined by your struggles. You are shaped by them. And because of everything you have faced, everything you have learned, and everything you have overcome, you are unbreakable. Conclusion: your pain was never wasted. There was a time when your pain felt like the end. It felt like something that had taken more from you than it had given. It felt heavy, confusing, and at times unbearable. You may have questioned why it happened. You may have wondered if you would ever feel whole again. You may have doubted your strength, your direction, and even your worth. But you are still here. And that means something. It means that despite everything you have faced, you have endured. It means that even in moments when you felt like giving up, something within you chose to keep going. It means that your story did not end in your pain, it continued through it. And now, standing where you are today, you can begin to see something that may not have been clear before. Your pain was never wasted. It may not have made sense when you were in the middle of it. It may not have felt fair. It may not have felt like it had any purpose at all. But as you have moved through this journey, understanding your pain, facing it, learning from it, and growing through it, you have started to uncover its meaning. You have realized that pain is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of transformation. Every chapter of your life especially the difficult ones, has contributed to who you are becoming. Every struggle has shaped your perspective. Every challenge has strengthened your resilience. Every moment of discomfort has pushed you to grow in ways you never would have if everything had remained easy. You are not the same person you were before. You see things differently. You understand yourself more deeply. You carry a strength that was not there before. And that strength is not accidental. It was built. Built through moments of uncertainty. Built through moments of doubt. Built through moments where you had to keep going, even when it was hard. That is the power of your journey. And now, you have something that many people spend their entire lives searching for. Awareness. You understand that pain has a purpose. You understand that your thoughts shape your experience. You understand that growth requires both courage and action. You understand that you have the power to choose how you respond to life. And that understanding changes everything. Because now, you are not just reacting to life. You are creating it. You are no longer defined by what has happened to you. You are defined by what you choose to do with it. This is where your next chapter begins. Not as someone who is trying to escape the past, but as someone who has learned from it. Not as someone who is afraid of pain, but as someone who understands it. Not as someone who is searching for strength, but as someone who has already built it. The journey you have been on is not just about healing. It is about transformation. It is about becoming someone who is more aligned, more intentional, and more resilient. And that transformation does not end here. It continues. Every day, you will have the opportunity to apply what you have learned. To choose growth over comfort. To choose awareness over reaction. To choose strength over fear. Some days will feel easier than others. There will be moments when old thoughts return, when doubt creeps in, or when challenges feel overwhelming again. That is part of the process. Growth is not a straight line. But now, you have the tools to navigate those moments. You know how to face your emotions instead of avoiding them. You know how to question the stories you tell yourself. You know how to let go of what no longer serves you. You know how to rebuild, realign, and move forward with intention. And most importantly, you know that you are capable. Capable of handling difficulty. Capable of learning from experience. Capable of becoming more than you were before. That is what makes your journey powerful. You are not just someone who has experienced pain. You are someone who has transformed it. And that transformation is something no one can take away from you. It is part of who you are now. As you move forward, remember this. You do not have to have everything figured out. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to move at the same pace as anyone else. Your journey is your own. What matters is that you keep moving. That you stay open to growth. That you continue to choose yourself, even when it is difficult. Because every step you take builds on the last. Every decision you make shapes your future. And every moment you choose strength reinforces the person you are becoming. There is a life ahead of you that is shaped not by your past struggles, but by how you have grown from them. A life where your experiences become your foundation, not your limitation. A life where your pain becomes your power. A life where you move forward with purpose, clarity, and confidence. And that life is not something distant. It begins with the choices you make today. So do not look at your past with regret. Look at it with understanding. Do not see your struggles as something that held you back. See them as something that prepared you. Prepared you to think differently. Prepared you to act differently. prepared you to become stronger, wiser, and more intentional. Your pain was not the end. It was the turning point. It was the moment your life began to change. And everything you have learned since then is proof that you are capable of so much more than you once believed. So step forward with confidence. Step forward with strength. Step forward knowing that you are not the same person you once were. You have grown. You have evolved. You have transformed. And no matter what comes next, you carry something within you that cannot be taken away. The strength to face it. The wisdom to learn from it. And the resilience to rise again. Your story is still being written. And this time you are writing it with power. Thank you for reading this book. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to leave us a review. TM Light. Disclaimer. This book was created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. While every effort was made to ensure the accuracy and relevance of the content, readers should note that this cannot be considered professional advice. Readers are encouraged to apply their own judgment and consult experts where needed.